In this video, I would like to talk with you about how to develop a strategy for effective lead generation. So first of all, what exactly is a lead? What exactly is lead generation? Now, a lead can, for instance, be an email address. It is basically something that leads us to someone. For instance, it could be a phone number. It could be a name together with an email address. It could perhaps also be some kind of postal address. So what we want to do right here is we want to have a look at 5 different options that will help us to develop a proper strategy for effective lead generation. We're going to have a look at how to drive traffic to our sales page, and we're also going to have a look at the effectiveness of each method. So which method is the most effective one? Which one should we use? Now, lead generation is extremely important for us. It is probably the most important part of our sales strategy. It's the most important part of our sales funnel, because if you don't get any traffic to your sales page, you're never going to generate any sale. So let's get into it and let's have a look at the 5 strategies. So strategy number 1 is influencer marketing. Strategy number 2 is guest posting. Strategy number 3 is PPC, so pay-per-click campaigns. Then strategy number 4 is social media advertising. And strategy number 5 is SEO and sales page optimization. So how exactly can we drive traffic to our sales page? How can we get more leads? Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we want to do influencer marketing. Now, an influencer is basically a person, for instance, on Instagram, for instance, on YouTube, for instance, on Facebook, that has a lot of followers. Nevertheless, be aware that a lot of Instagram influencers or Facebook influencers have a lot of followers. Nevertheless, the followers are not real people. So, for instance, they bought a lot of their followers, which basically decreases their so-called organic reach. So if you have, let's say, an influencer that has 100,000 followers, but only gets, let's say, 10 likes on average on their post, he or she probably bought a lot of followers. But if you have someone that has, let's say, 100,000 followers and gets 2,000, 3,000 likes per photo, you can be sure that this person most likely did not buy these followers. So people with a lot of followers on Instagram or YouTube are, for instance, influencers, and what we can do is we can tell them basically, all right, you are quite popular on Instagram, you have 100,000 followers or whatever, and I will give you, let's say, $100 for one post where you present my product. If the Instagram influencer is even bigger, let's say 200,000, 500,000, a million followers, you can say, all right, I'm going to give you $1,000 if you post a photo with my product and also put the title of my website in, for instance, the photo description. So that, of course, will then help you to track, all right, where exactly am I getting my traffic from? For instance, it could look like that. You say, all right, can you take a photo with my product? Here is a 50% discount link. And when people click on that link and they go to my sales page, they're going to get 50% off. Now, this link, of course, this kind of coupon, this discount link should only be on this person's Instagram profile. So for instance, if this person is all about some kind of motivation, let's say it's a motivational Instagram account, I would call the coupon, let's say, motivation. And as soon as people click on that and purchase from my store or from my sales page, I know exactly, all right, this is where I get my traffic from. So influencer marketing is, of course, quite costly. Nevertheless, it is also one of the most effective methods right now, because it takes you a long time to build up such a huge organic reach as many influencers have. And what you can do is you can just simply say, all right, here is my product. You use the, let's say, the organic reach of other people that perhaps took years and years to build. You pay them some money, but most of the time it will pay off more than you think. Now, of course, make sure that you always only target Instagram influencers or YouTube influencers that really have a following. Now, here is one advice for you, and this is important. For instance, on YouTube, I would not give an influencer money just for creating a video. I would pay them by the amount of clicks. For instance, there's something called CPN, which basically means, well, the amount of money that you pay to them per click. And on YouTube, the CPM for them is most of the time, let's say, around $2 per 1,000 clicks. So for instance, if someone watches the video, or let's say 20,000 people watch that video, on average, this person is going to make around $40. Now, when you, for instance, sponsor someone as, let's say, an influencer, then of course, what you can do is you can give them, let's say, $10 per 1,000 clicks if this video is solely about promoting your brand. Or at least if it's a lot about promoting your brand, promoting your product. And again, I would use a coupon link or some kind of discount link in, for instance, the video description in order to track first of all, where the traffic is coming from, but also to give this influencer a way to say, all right, here's also something I'm going to give you back. Because if the influencer only pushes your product and says buy, 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 their followers are going to go away. And of course, most influencers do not want that. But if you, for instance, are an influencer and let's say you get an offer from someone saying, all right, I'm going to give you $10 per 1,000 clicks, plus here's like some kind of coupon link so your viewers get 50% off. Of course, it is also much more likely that then the influencer is going to say, all right, I'm interested in that. And then strategy number 2, which is guest posting. Write articles for other people's website that get a lot of traffic or go on their podcasts. Now, I for a long time underestimated how much podcasts can help you. Now, I personally think that websites right now, or articles on websites, don't get as much traffic as they have gotten in the past. I think the future, honestly, is podcasts. For instance, in the last year, I was on, I think, 30 plus podcasts, and some of these podcasts were downloaded more than 250,000 times per episode. So you have 250,000 people downloading your podcast, which I think is absolutely amazing. Think about the organic reach that you're going to get from going on a podcast. Basically, these people listen to your, let's call it propaganda, for 2 hours or for 1 hour or for 30 minutes straight, and you can pitch whatever you want. So for instance, in my podcast, I always say, all right, I'm going to teach you how to make money online with online video courses. Just send me an email to, and then ... So my email address, basically. So what I do is I attract the people that are interested, or let's say that took the first step in listening to that podcast, who want to make money, and then I get them completely for free. Normally, I would have to pay, for instance, for Facebook ads. I would have to invest time in content creation. I would have to record videos, which basically cost me money because I don't have time to do something else. And the podcast is a it's a free version, basically, for any kind of ad. So when you, for instance, let's say want to sponsor a podcast, you can do that as well, but you need to pay money. So what I would do is I would personally just go on the podcast and talk about what I'm interested in. Now, sponsoring a podcast is also quite effective in my mind, because most of the time the sponsors are named in the beginning. Or if you want to sponsor a podcast, I would personally say, let this person that is hosting the podcast put your advertisement in the beginning. So for instance, say, all right, this podcast was sponsored by Audible or someone like that, as you probably have heard before, because let's be frank, Audible is basically sponsoring everything. But this is basically one way for us to just gain more traffic, and it is just a very organic way of gaining traffic. And then strategy number 3, which is a PPC, which stands for pay-per-click. So pay-per-click campaigns are incredibly effective, and pay-per-click basically means as soon as someone clicks on your ad, you have to pay. So I think this is actually quite a fair system. Now, for instance, on Facebook ads, you most of the time even have to pay for impressions, which means that people see it, but they don't necessarily click. But for PPC campaigns, for instance, on Google or on Bing or something like that, you only have to pay for every click. So only if someone willingly clicks, or let's say half willingly clicks, if he or she doesn't smash like their head on the keyboard, like if this person willingly clicks on the ad, you're gonna pay. And most of the time it's not that much, except you have like some really profitable terms. For instance, let's say you want to create some kind of wine ad and you have the word wine, you probably pay like $6 or $7 per click. But if you have something that is perhaps less popular in searches, but it is your business, then you might only be paying a couple of cents for every single click, which again is super cheap, and hopefully for you quite effective. Then strategy number 4, of course, social media advertising. Now, most people look at social media advertising quite one-dimensionally. They only publish on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, or other platforms that are available in the West. Nevertheless, of course, most people are not even on the social media platforms that exist in the West. When you, for instance, count together how many people are on Sinan Weibo, WeChat, VK, QQ, all of these other platforms that you maybe not even have heard of, you will realize that the best place to advertise is actually in the Asian world. For instance, Facebook is quite overrun with ads. Now, it is still extremely cheap to create Facebook ads, don't get me wrong. Nevertheless, everyone is on Facebook. Everyone is advertising on Facebook. But no one is advertising on, for instance, Chinese networks with hundreds of millions of users. For instance, Sinan Weibo, for instance, WeChat, or the Russian network, VK, or for instance, QQ. Now, all of these are platforms with hundreds of millions of users users. QQ even almost 1 billion users. So social media marketing can basically also be divided in 2 parts, which is just content marketing, so content strategy, videos, articles, photos, and so on. And of course, the actual ad strategy. So for instance, Facebook ads, Pinterest ads, Twitter ads, and for instance, also Instagram ads, which, well, basically is Facebook ads. So yeah, that is basically social media marketing, highly effective, quite cheap nowadays, and definitely the best way to drive traffic to a sales page. Now, you probably think right now, why am I not talking about, for instance, TV ads or something like that? Well, because it is quite unlikely that actually a TV ad will get you to a sales page. But anyway, strategy number 5, SEO and sales page optimization. SEO, of course, stands for search engine optimization. You want to optimize your website and or your sales page in order to get more organic traffic, so basically traffic that you're not paying for. For instance, the word, let's say, wine. If you have the number 1 search result for wine, of course, you're going to get a lot of organic traffic. If you, for instance, let's say sell, what might you be selling? You're selling microphones. Then, of course, you want to be the first search result if someone types into Google, let's say, microphone. So SEO, search engine optimization, is extremely important. Nevertheless, I think it is more effective nowadays to drive traffic to your sales page via, for instance, PPC campaigns, via, for instance, Facebook ads, via social media advertising, and so on, and not via SEO. Now, of course, it is the cherry on top of the cake. It helps, it definitely helps, but in the past it has been much more effective than it is right now because there's already a lot of competition out there. Nevertheless, it is better to be on the 2nd page to be on the 50th page. Don't forget that. So also, of course, sales page conversions, which basically means that we want to get as many people to our sales page as possible. And of course, we want as many people as possible to purchase from our sales page. And in order to track, for instance, conversion, we need something like Google Analytics. We install Google Analytics in order to make sure that we optimize our sales page and know exactly where people are looking at, how they're behaving on our platform, how many people, for instance, click on the sales page and then click away, how long they are on the sales page, and so on and so on. Now, these were now 5 strategies that are highly effective that you can use in order to generate leads, in order to get people to go to your sales page and to perhaps purchase your product. So in this video now, we talked about influence marketing, about guest posting, about PPC, so pay-per-click campaigns, social media advertising, and SEO and sales page optimization. So right, that was it now here for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we are going to see each other in the next one.